we're back. It is 1:12 on Easter Sunday. Thanks for hanging out with me, and joining me in the studio right now is Dave McCush. How's it going, Dave?
Super cool. How's it going, Lindsay?
Pretty good.
It's good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. Thank you so much for making your way down here to talk with me about raising rabbits today.
Yes.
And you've been raising rabbits for quite a while now, right?
Since 2008.
2008, so that's like
7 years.
7 years.
It's a little crazy.
Yeah. And what got you into that?
Well, we were, I like eating meat, but I wanted to be sort of responsible for what I was eating. So I started raising my own rabbits, and just for home use and stuff, and it was awesome. And I work with farmers a lot, and other farmers and other people in the farming community heard about it, and other customers did, and they said, I want rabbits. And so we got a few extra rabbits, and started selling off some of the extra rabbits, and it's just grown from there.
And about how many rabbits do you have, like, right now?
Right now, I have about 20. I've actually downsized a little bit. I think at my max I was at 35 to 40, but I felt like I could do better with less rabbits.
And as far as, like, raising rabbits for meat, do you feel like it's a pretty sustainable meat? Like, as far as if you're, compared to the cattle industry, apparently, of course, is, like, really has a huge environmental impact. And how does raising rabbits compare?
So they say, cattle compared to, like a rabbit. In an ideal world, you could raise 6 times the amount of rabbits on cattle land as you could with like a cow. So they're 6 times more efficient. But, like, dollar for dollar, and practically speaking, it doesn't really work out that way. And I've done some pasture experiments up here, and other people are doing pasture experiments, and that's where you can actually maybe start to save some money and be a little bit more efficient. But generally speaking, people are raising rabbits on pellets, which are imported, and there's some issues with that. But if you're just doing it for yourself, it is affordable. I mean, you can raise a fair amount of meat for yourself cheaper than you would, by buying meat at the store.
And what are in rabbit pellets? Are they like corn?
It's mainly alfalfa.
Oh, okay.
With some other things.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's not super bad.
No, and it's nice alfalfa.
It's nice alfalfa. Have you tried it?
Yeah, I have tried it.
You have?
I was curious why they liked it, and I don't like it.
Well, it's good to know. It's good to know what you like.
I had a goat too, and the goat liked the brambles, blackberry brambles.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, why does it like brambles? They seem like they taste horrible. And I ate a bramble, like a leaf without spines on it, and I didn't like it either. But they love them.
I've seen goats eat plastic too. Have you ever tried that?
No. Maybe double go.
Sweet. So you're raising about 20 rabbits right now, and I met one of your rabbits one time that you had until she was 14, or what's the oldest rabbit that you've kept?
I think the oldest rabbit I have right now is coming on 7 years. The whole first generation of rabbits that I had, I kept them alive. I've lost the problem with sentimentality, and they're all pretty much gone at this point, which that's about 7 years old. They can go a little bit longer in ideal situations. But yeah, they're 7 years.
About 7 years?
Yeah.
Did the rabbit that I meet was not 14 years old? Am I making that up?
I don't think I had it, no.
Okay.
It wasn't one of mine.
Okay. A big one that you had in your living room?
That was Fluffy Bunny.
Is Fluffy Bunny still around?
Fluffy Bunny commit suicide with a raccoon.
Oh no.
Yeah, it was horrible.
That's horrible.
It was sad, actually. I loved Fluffy Bunny.
Yeah. And what's your favorite thing about raising rabbits?
I think I really like sort of the idea of what the community aspect that comes out of it. So it's amazing how much people are into rabbits, and just the idea of raising their own rabbits and talking about it. And I meet people all the time that they want to set up their own backyard operation, and I get to learn about other people, and we just talk about fun stuff. So I like that part of it. I like the rabbits; they're fun. I spend a lot of time with them, obviously. And it's just sort of a holistic thing. It's what's neat about it is I raise a few other things in my house, and it's a whole picture scenario. With the rabbits, you're creating manure for your garden. If you're efficient, you can use the pelts for other things afterwards. You're feeding yourself and other people. So there's a lot to be said.
Like a bunny for Speedo, perhaps?
Yeah, I've heard of these.
You have one.
I have one. It was made by an awesome seamstress.
Yeah.
Yes.
We won't disclose that seamstress name. But so raising rabbits, you like the community aspect of it and stuff. And like Vela really, really wants a rabbit right now. How How good of a pet is a rabbit?
So people that have pet rabbits love
Uh-huh.
their pet rabbits,
Mm-hmm.
and they do make good pet rabbits. People, they call them house rabbits and stuff, and you can box train them. And rabbits are smart. They have a personality, and they are all a little bit different. I've noticed that rabbits definitely have a lot going on. I'm not, I don't see them that much that way myself. Although Fluffy Bunny that did die was like the closest thing I've had to a pet rabbit. I used to take them all over the place. So yeah, they're loving, wonderful animals. But ultimately, I would probably recommend a cat.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard that. Is there any particular breed? Because you raise several different breeds of rabbits too. Is there any particular one that you feel like has more personality or better characteristics to being a pet rabbit?
So this is true of rabbits. That there's different breeds have sort of different purposes, and people have bred them for pets, and people have bred them for other things. And there's a lot of pet varieties out there. I think the Holland Lops are the real common one that people get. I have rabbits called silver foxes, which are a heritage breed, a rare breed, and they actually are really sweet rabbits. They're called the teddy bear rabbits. They're really big, and they sort of flop in your arms, and they're really cute. Angoras I would not recommend as a pet, but because they're used for their fiber, people handle them a lot, so they're bred to be sort of easy to handle, but you don't want to raise an Angora for a pet because they're a lot of upkeep. But they're really nice rabbits.
A lot of upkeep. Like what is
you have
the
to
upkeep?
You have to keep their hair in good shape
You have to brush them a lot.
constantly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so and that's how people are harvesting the fiber from them.
Well, no, they keep it brushed out, so it's just nice and clean, so it's not dreadlocky. And then they shed like any other animal. So when they shed, their hair comes out really easy. It pulls right out, and so you're going to harvest the fur when that's happening. Some people shave them, but it comes out easy when they're shedding, and they don't seem to get hurt at all by that.
Cool. Yeah. And you don't raise Angoras, do you?
I had one.
Fluffy
Bunny.
Oh, Fluffy Bunny was the Angora.
We keep on going back to poor Fluffy Bunny.
Sorry to keep bringing her up. I know it's a sore spot for you. And you're affectionately known as the Bunny Slayer in my household.
Yes.
But there obviously is a lot more to raising rabbits than just killing them.
That's actually the small part of what I do with them. In fact, a bigger part of my business is, believe it or not, manure. Just the manure sales for gardens and stuff. People love that. Yeah, and just stuff like that.
Yeah, manure mostly. And people save their urine as well, right?
Yes.
As like a gopher deterrent?
There's a gentleman at our farmer's market who has an awesome business based on rabbit urine. And he you can get it at the farmer's market, and he puts in...
Does it really work?
I think it works. Brad swears by it. He says you have to follow his regimen. And he put in the hole, and there's a whole system he has. And if you follow that, he says it works.
All right.
And there's not a lot of vermin or gophers or rats or anything in my rabbitry, so the urine does deter. Apparently the idea is that the gopher and the rabbit are scared of each other, so when the gopher smells the rabbit urine, they run away. That's the idea.
And so I imagine, are rabbits predators to the gophers? No,
they
don't eat.
But they'll fight them.
They'll fight them.
Yeah.
Oh, I see, because it seems like raising, and the way I've been to you, and I've seen your operation, the way that you have all these rabbits in cages, it seems like it would be kind of this beacon to predators. How do you keep, foxes, and what else is going after your rabbits? How do you keep them away?
So, raccoons, I mentioned, they broke into that one cage. It was horrible. Neighbors' dogs are a pain sometimes. Coyotes, there's a coyote, I think, that comes around. I've luckily not seen a bear, because bears can be awful, because they can actually get into the cages. There's been several occasions where I've heard something in the middle of the night, where I run outside yelling in the middle of the night in the freezing cold. I love doing that.
Yeah.
But I have to scare things off. And so,
pots and pans.
Yeah, and I just start yelling.
So you haven't, come up with a predator-proof caging?
Oh, they're like I said, I've had barely any problems. It's just, I could build a better fence if I had to, but it hasn't been an issue.
I see.
Yeah.
And what else do we need to know about raising rabbits? I know this is Easter, and I know you don't really want to get too gory about it, but I've seen your outdoor kitchen that you process the rabbits in, and how does that go?
Well, the whole process, I guess a better way of talking about it would be, like if someone wanted to raise their own rabbits,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot that can come out of it. So if someone, I'm trying to think here.
Like, for instance, you came to one of Ayla's birthday parties, and she was like, how do you do it?
How do I do
How do you do it? Do you use a gun or a knife?
Oh,
She
just the
asked
whole.
you.
Oh, we want to get into the gory details.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just want to know, like, what have you found to be the most efficient way to process rabbits? Because obviously, and you're killing the babies, right?
They're about 12 weeks old when
Okay.
we dispatch them, when we process them. I use a pellet gun. It's a very quick death, and then we bleed them out and hang them. And yeah, we have a pretty nice facility. We have stainless steel sinks that we drain into. One side's the dirt side, one side's the clean side. We do the processing in there, and yeah, it's really quick. So you dispatch it with a gun, you bleed it out, you take its fur off, and then you pass it to the other side. I have a partner that helps me out, and she'll eviscerate it, clean out the insides of it, and yeah, we package it up and freeze it.
It's a pretty quick process.
We can get through a rabbit in about 8 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that is pretty efficient.
Yeah.
With 2 people.
Mhm. Yeah, with 2 people.
And so, how many baby rabbits do your bunnies produce?
6 to 10.
6 to 10.
And you can go about, a good breed back schedule is about 45 days after they're bred, and it's about a month gestation and 12 weeks raising them. So if you do the math, it's a litter every 5 or 4 months.
Well, and so do you find springtime they're tending to have more?
There are times when
bunnies in their litters, or
there's times when they're more or less receptive, but you can pretty much go year round. I guess the bigger deal is in other areas other than Humboldt County is predicting the weather. So you want the babies to be born in an environment that's not too hot or too cold for them.
Mm-hmm.
But you can sort of breed them year round.
Yeah, and there's shows that happen here, right? The Humboldt County
Yeah, we have a
Fair has it's considered poultry. Raising rabbits is considered poultry.
Legally, it's a
right?
poultry. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you bring bunnies to the fair every year, don't you?
I have in the past. So rabbit people love showing the rabbits. It's a big deal, and people go nuts. And I've learned tons. It's like going to a rabbit show is like going to a convention talking about rabbits. You learn a lot, and people are really awesome. We actually have what they call a Rabbit Breeders Association in Humboldt County, and they actually put on 1 or 2 shows a year. Then the Humboldt County Fair does a show, and I think that's it. There's also an association up in Crescent City that does a show. And if you've never been to a rabbit show, they're sort of tedious, but they're awesome at the same time. You can learn a lot about rabbits and see there's like 45 different breeds. You can learn all about the different breeds. And
How many different breeds have you raised over the years?
4.
4 different ones. And your favorite one is the silver fox?
Silver fox, I love it. I have the Havanas, Satins, and the one Angora.
The one Angora.
Oh, and I have a Flemish Giant, who's awesome. His name's Henry, because he's giant.
Yeah. Like Henry's are.
Yes.
Nice. And so you can't. I'm assuming you don't crossbreed the rabbits.
No, you do.
Oh, you do.
So this is the thing about that's why I have a Flemish Giant. There's something called heterosity or hybrid vigor, and a lot of breeds, when you breed an animal to get a breed, you keep on sort of cementing the same traits in place, and that's how you keep a breed looking like it's supposed to look.
Mm-hmm.
When you keep on breeding the same breed over and over again, you get the good traits cemented and the bad traits cemented. So that's where if you have too much inbreeding, you'll start to see problems. For example, there's something called hybrid vigor, where you take 2 separate breeds and put them together, and all of a sudden you mix up all the genetics again. So you get sort of a balancing out of the genetics. So you get a lot of good traits that you might have lost back. So that sometimes the animals get to size quicker. There's there's different advantages that you can do from crossing.
So that's Henry's purpose, is to kind of reset the genetics. And
that's just for the babies, and sometimes I'll keep one of those and use it as a breeder as well. But yeah, you get sort of better offspring that way.
So how do you what exactly do you use to determine which rabbits you will keep for breeding and which ones are gonna get, what did you call it, dismissed? What did you say?
I think the word they use, dispatched cold, is another word people use. So there's a standard. There's a group called ARBA, the American Rabbit Breeders Association. They've created a standard, and you can buy the standard for like $12, and it tells you what your breed is supposed to look like. There's something called the commercial standard that things like the Flemish Giant, not the Flemish Giant, the New Zealands, the Californians, the Satins, and the Silver Foxes all sort of fit into this commercial type. And it's sort of like you want a rabbit that looks like it has a head and then looks like a hemisphere coming off the back of the head. So something that's like almost a perfect arch from the shoulders to the tail. And then just a sort of a broad back, so it's just even all the way through. And you're sort of looking for something like that, sizes up properly, not too big, not too small, in a good amount of time. And that's what you look for in good stock. And this is where the shows come in handy, because you get to learn how your stock is looking compared to what it's supposed to look. So you take your rabbits to the shows. I actually used to go to shows to learn if I was breeding or picking properly. So I'd bring what I thought was a good rabbit to the show, and then the judge would say, this rabbit's horrible, or this rabbit's awesome, and then I could learn a little bit from there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting that it's that intricate and delicate of a process, but I imagine that it's kind of tough to decide, oh my gosh, all these cute, for me it would be very hard to decide all these cute fluffy bunnies, which ones do I want to breed and which ones do I want to dispatch?
Yeah, I want to speak a little bit to compassion too, in terms of this. A lot of people, it's a weird thing to do. You sort of don't want to, kill animals. It's sad to do, and
yeah.
I get sad, and it makes me happy that I get sad, because if I didn't get sad, I might, stop being compassionate towards the animal and, dehumanize them or de-animalize them or whatever. And I don't ever want to do that. So I try to maintain my caring for them to the very end, always. And it's always sort of a very nice, calming thing that we do. When we do it, we're very nice to the animals. And I worry about people that like to kill things. Sometimes people want to kill things just for the sake of killing something, to see what it's like. And that scares me a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, especially a little. And I know you haven't really latched on to the nickname, the Bunny Slayer.
No.
Too well. And I see you cringe when you hear it out of the voice of small children, just like yelling Bunny Slayer across the room. I've seen that happen to you a couple of times. So
I've also been referred to as the Rabbit Ranger.
Right. That's the one you prefer, right?
And Bunny Boy. I like Bunny Boy. It's like cowboy, but better.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think.
Could be. I guess you could take it in. And this truck backs up about this time every single day. It's always a truck for me.
I see the truck.
Yeah, it's a big truck.
It's a tanker.
It is a big tanker. So, in raising rabbits, it's sad, it's happy.
Mm-hmm.
Is it worth it?
I think so. Yeah, it's something I've really held on to and tried to make work, and I wouldn't recommend it as a successful business.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, if anyone thinking I'm going to make it rich doing rabbits, that's a bad idea. There's a book. There's this awesome book. It's like the Bible of rabbits. It's made out of the University of Oregon, and they have a whole chapter on the economics of raising rabbits, and the section says you can't make any money at it, and they call it the 36-month business because it takes that long to realize you can't make any money at it. I think that's slightly wrong. I think you can, but I think you do it for other reasons. It's sort of like this food security and food responsibility stuff are the good reasons of doing it.
And do you feel like it could be sustainable for, as a family venture?
I think a small family that had 3 cages, and even if they weren't doing it for meat, say they wanted to do it for fiber, they had their Angoras, they could harvest the wool and make their their sweaters out of it. Then they can get the manure and just keep it for their garden. A lot of people do that, and it's good. You can make your own lawnmower with a rabbit, and you push the cage around the yard, a little bit every day, and it fertilizes your yard while it mows it. People do pretty neat stuff with them.
I never thought of that.
Yeah. They would be a rabbit tractor, like a chicken tractor with rabbits. Yeah.
With rabbits.
Yeah. People do them all the time. I've seen some really neat ones. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I've never seen rabbit hutches that are on the ground. I've always seen rabbits in elevated hutches.
There's some issues about raising them on the ground, and there's ways of tackling this. Joel Salatin, if you guys know who he is, has discussed how to make a proper rabbit tractor that will keep your rabbits disease-free. They get diseases from the ground, especially in Humboldt County where the ground stays quite wet. Coccidiosis can be a problem and such. But there's ways of dealing with that. Rabbits elevated are safe because you can keep them in a very sterile environment, so there's not a lot of disease that they get. And, we keep pads in the cages, so they have a place to rest and everything. So, and it seems pretty good for them. They stay healthy that way.
So they get diseases from the soil?
From the soil.
And from being consistently being damp?
Well, the soil, there's things living in the soil that, and when they're in intimate contact with the soil, they can get sick.
Okay.
Joel Salatin actually makes a rabbit tractor that's got little wooden, lath or something that they're actually on the wood but has slots in it, so the grass comes through that, but they're mainly staying on the wood.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And And he's in Oregon.
Joel Salatin is no, he's Polyface Farms. He's on the East Coast.
Oh.
He wrote that book. He wrote a few books.
Okay, I'm not familiar with
He wrote Backyard Poultry for Profit was his first book, but he's really got a neat farming philosophy. People love this guy. What's his face? Michael Pollan wrote about him in one of his Omnivore's Dilemma book.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I know Michael Pollan.
Yes.
Sure.
And they know each other. Him and Joe Salatin. So you sort of know Joe Salatin.
Yeah. Not very many degrees of separation.
Just one.
I'm not sure Michael Pollan knows me, but.
No, maybe.
I doubt it. He's probably not listening right now. So, have you ever, in raising rabbits, encountered a variety that lays eggs?
So, they don't lay eggs, per se. But rabbits are awesome because they ovulate, just like mammals do.
Don't they ovulate on demand?
This is what's so awesome. They're like opportunistic ovulators. So you breed a rabbit, and then they ovulate like 3 or 4 hours later. And it's like this perfect time thing. So they don't have a cycle like a lot of other mammals.
Mm-hmm.
I guess if they lay eggs out of their ovaries, and then the eggs basically stay inside of they have a bifurcated uterus. So like we have as human beings, we have one uterus with these horns that come off of it. And a rabbit, their horns get really long, and they actually are part of the uterus, and they have 2 sides of their uterus.
And they have 2 ovaries?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Just like us, we have 2. I don't have 2.
You don't have 2 ovaries?
No, you do though.
I do.
Yes.
That's what I'm counting.
Good. So it's pretty neat. In fact, they get what they call pseudo pregnancies too. Sometimes they'll do a breeding, but it doesn't take for whatever reason. And the process that actually apparently makes the rabbit ovulate is the rubbing of the hindquarters, rubbing them back and forth will cause that ovulation. So they can have a pseudo pregnancy. A month later, when they're supposed to give birth, they'll make a nest and everything, and then nothing happens.
And nothing happens.
Yeah.
And so, how many litters can a rabbit have? How many litters is healthy for a rabbit to have in a year?
So there's an idea of a breedback schedule,
Uh-huh.
and how harsh is your breedback schedule. Rabbits, again, which isn't so awesome for a female rabbit, is they can ovulate the day after they give birth. So if you keep 2 rabbits together, you can keep them pregnant all the time, which sounds awful.
It does sound awful.
And so don't ever do that. So I tend to use if I'm on my game, which I'm never on my game, I tend to use a 45-day breedback period, which I think is a pretty good break from pregnancy to, it's a month and a half from pregnancy to breeding again. Ultimately, I'm trying to probably get 3 to 4 litters a year. I don't do that, but if I was on my game, that's what I would do. And I think that's all right. I know that in like commercial operations, they go a lot quicker. I think 28 days is what they're doing, if not even less.
And then, after a baby rabbit is born, how old do they have to be before they start?
8. Oh, before.
Being able to have babies.
So you'll hear a lot of people say that you can do it at 5.5 months. Some of the books say that. I would always wait 7 months for the boy and the girl. Just give them 7 months before you do it. And I think they're just healthier that way. There's less chance for problems. And even some people, like, they can get pregnant at 5.5 months, but they might not do a good job raising the young. It might be hard on the mom. So I always give them at least 7 months before I start.
Is it hard to sex them out?
No.
No, it's easy. I've never really checked out a rabbit's junk before.
It's super easy.
It's super easy to figure out which is which.
Yeah, the guys have very
They're pronounced.
Yeah, when the testicles are.
Okay, and so they can hang out with each other for 5 months, like.
Well, no, like if you at 4 months, I bet they can start getting pregnant,
okay.
if not even earlier. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so you got to be careful.
You split them up.
Yeah, well, yeah, I take them basically before they get to that age.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Dismissed.
Yeah.
What was it again?
I said dispatched. I don't know what the right
Dispatched.
word is. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Move them to the freezer.
Yeah.
Aw.
And so you make your own pelts too.
Mhm.
And describe that process really quickly for me.
So, alum canning is what I do. It's a pretty old process. People have done it for a long time. There's like thousands of years apparently. But alum is a chemical we use for a lot of things. We use it as a flocculating compound in water. It makes it so water clears apparently. People put in pickles for some odd reason to make them crisper. I don't know if that works. Maybe it does. Maybe you shouldn't boil your pickles so much, but whatever. So alum is a chemical. Then I use salt. You mix salt and alum together. It creates a sort of acidic solution that you soak your hide in for 3 days. There's a small membrane on the back of it that you have to peel off.
Is that difficult?
Peeling the membrane?
Yeah.
It takes like 10 minutes, and
Okay.
it's sort of gross. And then you hang them to dry right as they're drying. Right at the moment they're drying, they say you break the hide. So as it's drying, you actually start working the hide back and forth, and you make it soft that way.
Yeah, or else it'll dry real stiff.
It will dry like a board. So my friend, and I've heard there's something called brain tanning, which a lot of people use.
I've heard of that too.
Where you take the brain and you make a paste out of that and you rub it on the hide. And I've never really wanted to do that. But my friend who does rabbits, Tammy, you know Tammy.
Yeah.
Tammy, the other day, she took the yolk of an egg, an Easter theme, right? So she took an egg yolk and did the same thing you would do with a brain tan, which is smear the yolk all over the hide and basically let it sit overnight, then break it up, wash it off, I guess, and then you break it later on. And man, that was a beautiful tan. It was like
Really?
way softer than what I do. It was just
Interesting.
It was really nice, yeah.
She's a smart lady.
She's a smart woman.
Did she leave it out in the sun, or
I don't think so. I think she just
when you're tanning hides, do you put them in the sun?
No, it's in a bucket.
It's in a bucket.
Yeah.
When you hang it to dry, it doesn't have to.
Oh yeah, you can hang them wherever.
You can hang them wherever.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I put them in a shed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And that's a 3-day process.
Yeah,
to
yeah,
tan a hide well.
and you can leave it in. They call it the pickle, which is that alum salt concoction.
Where do you get that from?
There's a store up in Lebanon, Oregon called Research Mannequins that has most of the supplies for tanning that you could ever use. They're awesome people and they're really helpful. I used to have tanning questions, and I would call them and they would walk me through the process. They were really nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
And thank you, David, for coming in. I know it's kind of a trek down here.
No, that's fine.
From Arcata. Thanks for coming in. You obviously, there's a lot to know about rabbits.
There's a lot to know.
Yeah, you've obviously done your research.
And there's a lot of stuff just families can do if they really want to do it on their own. That's just sort of like a nice thing to do. Yeah. Backyard, sort of taking responsibility for your own meat, and you get to know how your animal treated.
You've never had rabbit. You've offered to cook some rabbit for me before, and then somehow that's never happened.
The funny thing is, I actually sell most of my product. I barely ever eat it myself, which is funny. I've actually probably count on 2 hands or maybe 5 hands at this point how many rabbits I've had. But it's awesome. I do a slow stew kind of scenario with like a tomato and onion and a little bit of vinegar or something, olive oil. Cook it for 8 hours. Oh, and it's phenomenal. It's just a nice meat. It's real tender that way, and it's fine grained. It's wonderful.
How many pounds does a
3,
rabbit?
2 to 3.
2 to 3 pounds. Yeah. And so it's pretty lean probably.
They have what they call there's a few things with that. It's got a super low meat to bone or high meat to bone, so high meat to bone ratio. It's super low in fat. In fact, they worry that if you only ate rabbit, you wouldn't get enough fat in your diet and you could die. That's not likely true, by the way. If you did that, you probably wouldn't die. If you only ate rabbit. But yeah, so it's a lean meat, fine grained, and it's high meat to bone.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm tempted to try it. I guess it's been one of those things that.
Let's cook one up.
We should make a rabbit stew, and what better day than today? I know you're not a. Did you celebrate the Seder? Did you have a Seder?
I didn't go to a Seder.
No.
I went to a homebrew festival.
Oh yeah, I think I went to that too. I'm having a hard time this morning remembering.
That felt sort of like the opposite of a Seder because there was a lot of yeast involved.
Oh yeah.
Which was worrisome.
There was the Seder traditionally you can't have any yeast.
No,
right?
nothing leavened. Yeah. And I think beer is leavened, right? Leavened, not really, but similar.
Yeah. Well, the unleavened bread just probably had yeast in it, but it just
no,
didn't
it's
have a chance to rise.
No, it's made without yeast.
But I thought the original story was they were making bread.
Oh, and they had to run.
But they had to run.
Yeah.
That could have originally had yeast in it. I'm picking it apart though.
Yeah, I might not be the scholar there.
Yeah.
But no, I didn't do a Seder.
Okay.
Next year.
Next year. Cool.
Yeah.
And we can have rabbit maybe.
Yeah, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, we could do it.
Cool.
Absolutely.
Is there anything else you wanted to add about raising rabbits? What's a good resource if people want to go online? Where would you direct them?
There's a lot of resources. There is for backyard rabbits, apparently, and I'm on it. There's a Facebook group called Backyard Meat Rabbits, and that place blows my wall up all the time. There's all these people talking about everything that's going on in the rabbitry. They post pictures of something, and then everyone just chimes in. It's actually sort of an awesome community to
for getting your questions answered
yeah.
and stuff.
And another thing about anytime you're raising any animal, never be shy about mistakes you're making. Share them with other people so you can get help with them. And so, having these community forums, like you say, my rabbit's got this sign of something that I don't understand. You share it with someone else, then you can learn, and it keeps the animals much more healthy because you learn versus being afraid that you did something wrong.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and
that makes sense.
So I've only been on that for 2 months, believe it or not, but it's really fun watching sort of people come together. So it's the Backyard Meat Rabbits or something on Facebook.
On Facebook.
I'm sure you can find it.
It's
group.
It's not exclusively Humboldt group.
It's a national group.
International.
Yeah, or international, probably like the universe.
Maybe.
Light speed stuff might get in the way, but yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So that's
fun.
where you would go.
I think so.
There's people who don't like the Facebook. What's the?
There's Yahoo groups. There are
Yahoo.
Yahoo mail groups. I'm on a bunch of those.
Okay.
There's breeders associations. There's resources forever. Rabbits have been around for a long time.
Yeah.
Another thing that's interesting, and I know a lot of people get sad by all this rabbit meat talk, and I understand that sadness. And not to try to justify it, but rabbits have actually been, for much longer time, only considered a sort of a culinary kind of animal and a livestock kind of animal. And only recently have they sort of moved into the pet arena, which is great, and there's some nice pets. But it's something people have been doing for a long, long time, raising rabbits for meat. And so there are tons of resources out there.
Well, when you think about them in nature, it seems like everything
it's
likes
so
to
sad.
eat rabbits.
It's like nature's prey is the rabbit.
Totally.
Oh, it's so sad.
Yeah. And so you're at the farmers market on Saturdays. And
Yeah.
if folks had a question, they could come by. You're usually pretty busy, but
Yeah, if you have a question, call me.
call you.
If you want to talk to me at Saturday Market, you can, and I'll probably give you my phone number, and you can call me later. But yeah, and sometimes I set up. I do actually, my operation's pretty small at this point. Like I said, I've scaled quite a bit back. So I do mainly just word of mouth stuff, just on-site stuff. But I do show up at market from time to time, and I do work at the market, as a lot of you probably know. So I will, if you ever find me there, I'll talk to you for sure.
Cool. And do you sell rabbits to people or give rabbits to people so they can start their own?
A lot of people, I've done probably more of that, or probably half of what I've done is help people set up their backyard scenarios.
Cool.
And I'd actually prefer to do that versus
Raising them
taking the market. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand the end result's about the same, but it's nice to get people going on their own. And yeah, I've met a lot of wonderful people that way. I mean, there's like this whole emotional economics of this business where just some of the best people I've met are the people that like sort of share this vision. And maybe that's why we have it in common or something. But awesome people. Yeah.
Neat.
Yeah.
So instead of going out and buying a new lawnmower, maybe you should just get a couple of rabbits.
Get a couple of rabbits.
How much food do they eat?
They eat a lot.
They do eat a lot.
I go through I'm going through 100 pounds a week right now, but when I'm in peak production, I can go through 50 pounds a day.
Wow.
And it drives me nuts.
That's a lot of alfalfa pellets.
It's a lot. Yes. They know me by name at the feed store.
I bet. Sweet, David. Well, thank you so much again for coming in. We've been talking to David McCush from Buck and Daisy Rabbitry.
Thanks,
And
Lindsay.
yeah, for sure. Happy Easter. And even though you don't celebrate Easter, I hope that everyone is having a great Sunday. And I am about to get out of here. Don't have too much time left with you. Cliff's going to be coming in here pretty shortly. But I did want to play a bunny song for you. This is the best one I could come up with. This is called Easter Bunny in Space. And Sarah Gam.